Welcome, everybody. Today, we have a great panel with us today to talk about how we're going to leverage technology and how these companies are leveraging technologies to build operational excellence. So let me introduce my co-panelists, Malik Yacoubi, co-founder and CEO of Nesto. Welcome, Malik.
Thank you.
Julie Lévesque, EVP for Technology and Operations at the National Bank. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
And Christine Day, which is a CIO and CTO of Questrade. So very interesting to have you all on board today. So I'd like to start and just get your insights on how technology has been a lever to help build operational excellence in your company. So Julie, I'd love to start with you.
So thank you. I would be in a bad position to tell you that technology doesn't enable operational excellence, since I'm responsible and accountable for technology and operations at National Bank. That being said, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago to be exact, we decided to put operations and technology together to create a much more bigger lever to use technology to really bring a lot of more operational excellence at National Bank. And this has been quite a successful endeavor so far. Simplification of our processes, ecosystem, they're all intertwined. So putting the two together is starting to pay off now.
Yeah, great. How about you, Christine?
So Questrade is probably best well known for Questrade IQ, which is our direct access trading system. And that was created in-house from scratch. Together with all client-facing touch points and really extensive automation end-to-end across the brokerage. So technology is really very much at the core of our, not just how we are experienced by our customers, but it's really at the core of the business model in how it is that we're able to keep the overall kind of costs associated with operating the business low relative to the really rapid growth of the customer base. And there's a number of elements that contribute to that overall business model. The first I would highlight is actually the mindset, like a technology-first mindset, because it means that the enterprise broadly actually seeks a technology-first solution, as opposed to assuming that the only way to meet the demand and to scale is to hire, more people, right? And so that's a big piece. A second piece is just the client self-service approach, right? Most of our clients actually have a strong preference to self-serve, but that is only possible when done in conjunction with great anticipation of needs, tremendous transparency, and a lot of tooling that empowers that kind of self-service. Otherwise, they have no choice but to contact the call center. The next piece I would highlight is what we call enterprise platforms. So as we move from monoline to multi-line, and we have builds that are currently underway that span a variety of different offerings, we've made a lot of really deliberate choices around what is a centralized capability that will be used broadly across the enterprise and encapsulated in a core platform versus what is like a specialized capability that will be leveraged, just by a singular line of business. And that not only plays into the overall cost of scale and operational efficiency, but it also really plays into how customers experience us. Yeah. We really believe that what happens on the inside shows up on the outside, that customer experience is a great deal more than a UI. And this drives that cohesiveness and consistency like broadly across how we do things. So for us, tech is really at the center of everything that we do and our entire business model.
Wow, thank you. And Malik, you've built a great business with Nesto. We saw in the video you pitching 5 years ago. Your business, now it's grown.
I looked much younger 5 years ago.
Yes, you still look great.
You
still look great.
Thank you for that.
Tell us about how technology plays a pivotal role in your business.
So first, when we started the company, actually 5 years ago, we directly went to build a great mission, which is to offer a transparent and positive property financing experience, simplified from start to finish. we started from that, and then we looked at how technology would enable us to deliver on that mission. And obviously, I think we got lucky at the moment that we started, because 5 years ago, it was much easier to start to build directly on the cloud, no older technologies. So it enabled us to deliver faster on our mission. And when I look at how do we deliver on the mission, for me, technology is at the core, but it's also just an enabler, because ultimately, we want to deliver the best customer experience, the best employee experience also, because if we can drive the best employee experience, we can drive the best outcome for our clients. So we like to start with people, process, and then technology. And so we look at the people, we look at the process, and then we enable them with technology. And we managed to build, I believe, the only end-to-end mortgage platform that is now able to get a mortgage application, do the underwriting, do the servicing, the administration, all self-serve from a client perspective, but with all the automation and all the tools that our people need to operate these mortgages on one set of data, one system, which is, I think, a big advantage that we have today in the market.
Wow, that's good. Julie, I'd like to come back to you. We're seeing the fintech, a lot of great companies coming up. Can you talk about what the National Bank's vision with collaborating with the fintech companies? I saw the Flinks deal, and I know you're invested in great companies. So maybe talk about your vision and how this collaboration brings you a competitive edge.
Yes, definitely. So we've been talking, and part of our strategy is really to accelerate and bring a lot of customer value to our customers. So we've decided a couple of years ago that I can either build things internally, and with a pace that is used in bigger type of organization, or I could partner with different types of businesses, different capabilities that I don't have internally that would accelerate me to provide services to our customer. So that's how this all started. We started, and you mentioned Flinks. That's a great example. We started with an additional funding in the first rounds of seeding with Flinks. Now we're a majority stakeholder in the company. We believe that they have great capabilities that if we had built internally, would not have been at the pace that it is today, at the level of quality that it is, and ready to market. So I think this for us is something that is really part of our strategy. It also, though, I would say, reinforces the fact that we need to have internally, and types like banking or any other type of organization, we need to have an architecture that allows that. So you need to have an architecture that is open. You need to have open APIs that can be consumed externally, that you can consume as well. So that's part of the work that has been done in the past few months and years that would say enable and accelerate those integration with different types of partner. So we're always on the lookout to see what's out there, what our customer wants, what I don't have in my portfolio, and who is the best asset that has it that I can partner with and then deploy and to our customer. So a great deal of all our investment I use internally as part of capabilities, as part of the solution that we offer to our customer.
So it's all about speed of innovation and speed to bring value to the clients on the market, I guess.
It's value and speed.
Yeah. Okay, great. Christine, on your end, I saw that you guys did a lot of acquisitions. I saw you. So how does Questrade address this point?
So I would actually speak more a little bit just about fintech in general to start. So Questrade was fintech before fintech was cool. Like no one cared. No one cared if there was competition in Canada. No one cared, for driving disruption, better kind of customer outcomes. There were no forums like this, right? Like that wasn't even a word, didn't exist. And so, there's been a real evolution of Canadian expectation when it comes to financial services, and I believe we've played a role in helping to drive that evolution. But there's still a really long way to go, right? In the sense that it's still an oligopoly. Canada is still woefully behind other countries, right? And that's really where the opportunity lies for fintechs. And I think this fintech wave that we've experienced, not only does it help to kind of bring this concept that there is choice. When we do research, that's what we hear, is that Canadians are looking for choice, and the fintechs are bringing, more choice. But it's also in the coming together of like-minded entrepreneurs in forums like this that actually allows for advocacy work to happen and to, try to propel change at the macro level. I'm sure probably somewhere in this conference there's conversations about open banking and real-time rails and, ideally digital identity also, because it's a bit of a three-legged stool. But I think all of that is the opportunity that we have to propel change. So yes, we have made a number of acquisitions. I'll probably talk about that a little bit later in the panel. But that has been part of our overall strategy, and similar how to propel growth, propel diversification. We know what it takes to build, do a startup, build a brand, scale it, be profitable in Canada. It's not easy, right? And it takes time. So we also are looking at other ways to accelerate.
Okay. So Malik, I'd love your thoughts on this. We'd like to see it from your end as an entrepreneur that's built the company. How do you see the fintech market right now? And talk to me about the partnerships with larger organizations to help you grow and mature your business through that process.
Okay, and maybe I have a few stories around that. So like I said, we started that company 5 years ago, and we had little funding, but we know what we wanted to build, which was that unique mortgage platform. No offense, Julie, I didn't meet you at that time, but
but we know each other now.
yeah, we know each other really well. But at that time, me and my co-founder Damien actually went on a tour and met every banks across Canada with our wireframe, and we're like, look, we're looking to build that. We believe you might need it somewhere. And actually, some of them showed me a floor. He brought me on a floor. He said, look, all these people, there was like 150 people. They're building exactly what you're trying to build. I was like, whoa, I'm in trouble. We started already, so we had to continue. So decided to continue to build that platform. And, fast forward 3 years after that, turns out that we were pretty much the only platform out there that was doing what we were doing in Canada at that time. Which, to me, it was a great proof that it's much easier to innovate and build into a startup than into a larger bank. So, after last year, we looked at our platform, and as entrepreneur, you always look for diversification and opportunity to grow. And we started to knock at the door again of the financial institution to say, hey, what do you think about our platform today? And the response was much more positive. By then, 5 years later, we managed to do a deal with IG Wealth Management that we announced last December. We signed the deal in December and went live in February. And we basically took over all the mortgage operation from IG that was doing already a few billions of origination per year, a pretty big book. And they decided to completely outsource their mortgage operation to Nesto. So we started a new business line, which is the Nesto Mortgage Cloud that we're in discussion with a number of financial institutions today. And the model is, I'm open for business. So which is quite simple. We can do the operation, we can do the software, we can collaborate. But what I'm sure is we'll continue to deliver on our mission, and it will enable us to touch more Canadians and collaborate with banks, because obviously we do mortgages under the Nesto brand, but behind, we need to collaborate with the rest of the ecosystem. So we're friends, and we're just friends, actually.
We're good friends.
We're good friends.
Okay. So I'm curious, Malik, you were courageous enough to continue when you saw all these floors of
Crazy.
Crazy is the better word. Okay, so what made you succeed in this space when you know big competitors or big banks had the cash and had the people to do it? What do you think, for the entrepreneurs out there that made you or Nesto have success in that space?
I think it was focus. I think it was focus, velocity. There's, we have few values in at Nesto, but one of them is urgency. Yeah, it's really felt within the company. Me, I'm always feeling like we don't go fast enough, we don't move fast enough, and we just got going and build and think about the client, don't think about the competition. If you provide the good experience, you should be winning at the end.
Okay, great. So Julie, you talked about partnering with the ecosystem to innovate. Trying to move a big organization like the National Bank and make them innovate, I think that's a great strategy. Can you share other strategies that you guys have to innovate, and make sure you deliver faster and better to your client base?
So I think what's a little bit different about National Bank, there's two things. We have a very much of an entrepreneurial type spirit and mindset, so that would be one. The second one is, I'd like to say that National Bank plays with a different set of cards in their hands. I have an ace in my card, which is called Any Ventures. Any Ventures is a great organization within my team with phenomenal talent that is always on the lookout of types of investment that we can make, investing in startups and fintechs. They do a lot of investment thesis on different types of subject, which always keeps me on my toes to see what's available out there, what are the trends. And all the investment that we've made as part of Any Ventures, most of them, I would say the majority of it, around 90%, we use as capabilities to accelerate a national bank. Wow. So we've made great investment. We were early investors in MX, Dialogue, to just name a few, but we've partnered last year with Synctera from a banking as a service offering. So there's a lot of things that we do that, as part of Any Ventures, really gives us an edge and always challenge. Because, as you mentioned, big organization trying to innovate and trying to your point, sense of urgency and speed in a regulatory environment, it collides a little bit. So there's a healthy tension that needs to be constantly brought to the table. And I think that the great talent we have with the Any Ventures and the mindset that they bring provides that healthy tension of, have you thought of this? Have you looked at these capabilities that we don't have internally? There's a trend over there. Should we push a little bit? And I think that's the key, and that's one of the biggest difference that we have with the other financial institutions. And in addition to that, we also look into, a lot of, and I was talking to some of my CIO colleagues in Toronto, and they were saying a couple of years ago, everybody was afraid of fintechs. They were going to take the world, and they were lose a part of the market share. Today, that was never our strategy at National Bank ever. To your point, we're open for business. What do you have to offer? How can it accelerate our growth, but as well as our customer offering and customer experience? So it's always been part of our strategy, and I think that's probably a differentiator today. That being said, there's still challenges, as I mentioned. Very well, banks are really a lot of regulations, a lot of oversight that sometimes, from a risk point of view, we need to balance out and always be careful. But I think that's one of the major difference in our strategy in comparison to other institutions.
Wow, I didn't know that. Very interesting. How about you, Christine, about innovation? How do you guys see it at Questrade, and how do you make sure that you always stay relevant on top of your game?
It's a good question. Yeah. So, at Questrade, I would say we invest in a bit of a different way. We have acquired 8 companies over the last 2 years. And some of those companies are kind of our foray into some adjacent financial service verticals. Others are opening up new customer channels. And 5 of the 8 acquisitions that we've made are either B2C or B2B fintechs. One is a technology service delivery company that brought several hundred engineers, all of whom specialize in delivery in financial services. So my technology group, which is in 8 countries now, 40% of our overall team joined us through acquisitions, all coming from smaller organizations, of course. And the engineering leader of every major stream of engineering that is underway at Questrade is a fintech entrepreneur. So, we recognize, and, I've been with the organization in one capacity or another almost from the beginning, and so I've seen the entire, trajectory of Questrade. And, we recognize that as you scale and as you grow, you do need to introduce, more overhead and more process and all of the things that, if not really carefully managed, can lead to, a reduction of velocity and a reduction of innovation. And so we take those things very seriously. Innovation is a very key part of our culture and our DNA. And so this influx of amazing talent is really bringing, a lot of different mindset, different ways of working, but also bringing really good depth of business knowledge in areas that are kind of adjacent to our core competencies. And one of the things that I believe is key to Questrade's success story is the fact that there is very deep business knowledge inside technology. So the technology group really understands, the domain that they are building out and creating. And so we now have that depth of business knowledge in every single area of technology to propel, offerings that we're building out across investing, wealth, home realty, mortgages, banking, insurance, as well as the underlying core platforms that stitch that all together.
And side question on that, how did you, build your culture? When you get entrepreneurs that are used to be their own boss, like the flexibility, don't like to have a boss, and you integrate them at Questrade, how do you build your culture for them to feel good and stay with your organization?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think that having seen a number of people go through that exact process of, going from being an entrepreneur and being their own boss to, now being part of a larger organization, it is a difficult transition for them. However, it's a very busy place, really. So it's not like, let's take those who report to me as an example. It's not like I have time to be all over their business. Like, everybody is really empowered and fully accountable to go and propel, their portfolio and their mandate, right? And so, a number of the leaders who were the, CIO or, the CEO even of their startup is one of those engineering leaders who is now at the helm of building out an offering within the Questrade ecosystem. And so they have all of the autonomy and independence, and they go and do what they do, and they lead their teams. And at the same time, I would say that, tech people love tech people, right? So you bring a bunch of tech people together, and if they are, of a like-minded tech culture in terms of how they think about technology and, how they approach, what technology can bring and the value it can bring, they all make friends really fast, right? Okay. So honestly, it's been really simple. I would say it's actually been simpler to integrate, tech talent through an acquisition into the larger tech org than it probably is to integrate, some of the talent into some of the other functions. I think that's a bit more challenging.
It must help the fact that you're a tech-first mindset within the organization also. So
Yeah,
impressive.
and they find it really refreshing because they get all of the benefits of what a bit of a bigger org can bring, but we are not a bank,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of how we operate and we think about, you know, the business. And so, you know, they find it quite refreshing.
Can I add a point on,
Yeah, for sure.
on this topic? Like I said, we did integrate all the mortgage operation from IG, wealth management, that I don't know, it's probably a 100 years old company or something like that. It also came with 75 employees that were specialized in mortgages into IG. And from one day to the other, and literally on a Friday, they were doing deals for IG, and on the Monday morning, they were doing deals for Nesto. They moved from Microsoft to Google Suite. They moved from a PC to a Mac. And a brand new system that we trained them a bit in advance, but we got to integrate this group that was first diverse across Canada, so some Winnipeg, we have now many people in Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto, and so on, and we got to show them the value of being in a tech company. And at the beginning, I don't know how it is, but it's never perfect, right? When you launch a product or service, there was some tweaks and some things that needed to happen, but we made sure that we apply people, process, and technology into that transition. So we listen a lot to, you know, what can we improve, what can we do? And we showed them that, you know, 3 days after, some changes were made already, and they were like, wow, that, I don't know if there's IG people on the room now, but they would tell me that it would have taken 6 months or a year to get these changes, and we showed that we're able to make these changes super fast so they get a better experience, so they can better service their clients. Then they got into the culture of who we are, the sense of urgency of, you know, fixing problems. So.
If I may, we have a different, I have a different story, which is in the same realm as you. When we do an investment through any ventures, obviously, depending on the size of the investment, we participate in some of the activities, but what we bring to the table, so we never invest and say we have commercial exclusivity, ever. We never do that. What we do is we make sure that we sign a deal, we invest, but then we bring banking knowledge to the fintechs. So if they have questions on payments, we have payments experts. If you have questions on different things. So this is the value that we get as well. So they get value from us, but we get tons of value with those exchanges, understanding where the market is going, what are the growing pains that the companies are going through. So I'd say that's also very much from an innovation point of view, challenges both parties and brings value to both.
That's a great point, helping each other understand the business, where it's going and all that. So Malik, I'd like to come back to you. You know, we all know in business, you know, as a startup or as an emerging company, cash is king, right? And then you're very focused on your space, but how do you foster innovation and make sure that you don't waste money and you stay connected with the client base? I think Judy just gave part of the answer, but I'd love to get your insight on that.
Yeah. So I go back to my early point where do we deliver on the mission? We're obsessed about the customer experience, the net promoter score of the client, and I think innovation, it's not something I like too much to talk about because I think innovation can mean a lot of things or nothing. And I think, you know, going at details, things that I'm looking for problems to solve. So I can tell you in the mortgage industry, there's a lot of problems. So you know, we try to fix one problem at the time and prioritize them to create value and ROI for us, for our client, and our partners that we collaborate with. So for me, innovation is finding problems and solving them. We don't have any innovation group at Nesto or anything related to innovation. I think it's about innovation.
Exactly,
what we're doing.
Yeah. And so it takes me to the next question that we're forecasting a tougher roller coaster economy in the upcoming year or 2 years. Julie, I'd love to understand, how do you prepare your organization for that? How do you keep a even keel on continuing the journey and making sure that you're cautious on costs and things like that?
I really like what you mentioned. I totally agree with you. For me, there's innovation hub or these types of things in organization. That's our business. Like, our technology folks should always be on the lookout to see what's available, what problem to solve, how to solve problems. So I think that, to me, the constraint of the economy is actually a really good enabler to promote that. You're constrained. You need to be disciplined in how you spend money, how you invest money. So find ways, different ways of making more dollar for your buck.
Yeah.
Always, and more value for your buck, I mean. So that's, to me, it's not yes, it is a constraint, but it's also a great way of looking at things differently, challenging our team. Yes, we're very disciplined in National Bank. We've said it, our CEO, I've said it on the public forums as well. We're not looking for, big charges and layoffs, not at all. We want to make sure that we protect talent at all costs. We want to make sure that we're very disciplined, continue to be disciplined. So that begs the question, how can we deliver a lot more value, continue to deliver value with the constraint that we have? And I think that's the key, looking at it from a different mindset. Be curious, finding different ways of delivering value is a great enabler. So we should take this opportunity rather than seeing this more as constraint. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in 3-6 months or so on and so forth. But if you're disciplined right away, it removes some of that stress that you have in your system.
Yeah, good point.
And really making sure that you make the right decisions going forward. I would say the other thing that we need to be careful in these times is only thinking short terms. So you need to always be a little bit, yes, short term is important. Don't make calls that are going to hinder your following years. So that's something that in larger organization, I find sometimes where you look at the P&L, and that's a reality in big organization. It's a reality in fintechs. You live in a different environment than we do in larger organizations. But making sure that whatever dollar we invest is the right way to do it, and being fully disciplined so that you keep talent. Because you mentioned something, you said tech loves talent. Techs love tech, but talent loves talent. If you have the right people, if they know what they need to do, and they have, le couteau entre les dents, you'll find
knife
great
between
the
the
teeth. That's a Quebecois expression. But that will create a lot more value for your organization.
Yeah, that's a great point. Christine, how do you see that Questrade, the economy, and how do you position yourself?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what's been said in terms of, that having constraints is not necessarily an inhibitor. It sometimes just, triggers new approaches, right? We've always been really scrappy, right? Like, I actually have a bit of a hard time sometimes adjusting to the size of what Questrade is, because I still think in very scrappy startup terms, and I really have no intention of losing that. So we're always very thoughtful about where and how we invest. But because we are a privately owned company, and because we are not, you don't need to chase our quarterly earnings, and we have very good financial standing, so we're not concerned about when the cash runs out. We're able to do what I think a lot of companies are really struggle with in difficult economic times, which is we're better able to kind of handle the ebbs and flows of the economy. I mean, in my tenure with Questrade, I've seen, this cycle 3 times, right? And we are able to do what I think a lot of companies struggle with doing generally, let alone in difficult economic circumstances, which is what I call straddling time horizons, similar to what you speak about, which is that balance between the near-term tactical investments that pay off right away versus those longer-term strategic investments that will only pay off downstream when other elements of the vision come together. And some of those things are enablers of that vision that will not yield value in the near term. And, we've also been able to, leverage, our overall position to make some pretty strategic capital investments, to make acquisitions. Some of those acquisitions we got, at a good price point, because of the circumstances as well. So we're able to be kind of entrepreneurial and optimistic. And it's not easy by a long shot to, go through the diligence, acquisition, and then the strategic thinking around integration of 8 acquisitions in less than 2 years. We're able to do that because we are entrepreneurial and can really rally around an opportunity when it presents itself. So, I think in many ways, difficult economic circumstances can bring unique opportunities, but you have to be ready and able to take advantage.
How about you, Malik? How do you see the opportunities and maybe the challenges in this upcoming challenging economy for Nesto?
Well, it's been certainly interesting the last year in the mortgage industries. For the ones that don't know, the rates went up quite a lot. So it goes back to, I keep saying that word a bit. It was a great enabler to create urgency for us, but also for the customer. The rate will be going up. So we managed to actually grow the company a lot by leveraging what was happening in the market. We got, we did raise a good round of capital last December of 80 million. So, I mean, we're really well capitalized. We don't need any capital to continue our journey. So I feel really good about that. We're able to make all the right decisions to continue to invest in delivering on our mission and solving all the problems. There's something that excites me a lot that will be coming in 25, 26, which I named that internally the Great Renewal. Because the Great Renewal will be happening in 25, 26, where 50% of the mortgage market will be up for renewal. Some will say, that's an issue, it's a problem. But I don't have 20% of the market yet. So I think it will be a great opportunity for us to, grab market share and grow that company to the next level. So we can name it here, Great Renewal at the FinTech Forum.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I'm part of the Great Renewal, by the way.
Well, all of you, please come to Nesto. We'll make sure we'll organize you something.
Okay. So before we get into Q&A, we're hearing a lot about generative AI. So I just like to get your insights on your vision of Gen AI. Are you guys looking at it? Do you see an opportunity for your business? So maybe Christine, do you want to give us some insight?
Sure. Yeah, we're very excited about Gen AI and have been about AI broadly for quite some time. We tend to kind of look at it as a really key enabler for that next level of operational efficiency and productivity. And we've already identified well over 100 use cases broadly across the business. So everything from coding engineering practices to how we can enable customer service and everything in between. And so on the Gen AI side, though, we really approach it with prudence in the sense that it's at the absolute top of the hype cycle, right, in terms of inflated expectations. But also all public Gen AI solutions come with data leakage risks, right? Mm-hmm. Like anything that's available just off the internet is not appropriate for corporate use in a regulated entity. Yeah. And so, we are building out what we call enterprise Gen AI. So it's a internal equivalent that brings all of the capabilities but safeguards against the risks. And on the customer solution side, we don't look at Gen AI as something that is distinct. It's essentially a channel that needs to be coupled with AI more broadly in order to deliver value. So what do I mean by that? It needs to leverage our data products. It needs to leverage other AI models. It needs to be kind of integrated and then there is some magic there, right? And so we've been investing in that space for some time in terms of kind of underlying capabilities for data scientists. We have, what I think is like probably a best-in-class MLOps pipeline that can handle everything to do with, models and training of models and pipelines of models into production as efficiently as other engineering pipelines. And so that is all kind of enablers of that whole AI ecosystem.
Great. We're tight on time. Maybe Julie and Malik, quick insights before we get into Q&A.
I agree with everything that you've mentioned. I think I would say, in addition to that, I think the Gen AI brings also a lot more of a democratized development. So we used to talk about shadow IT. Now we talk about citizen developer, which is exactly the same thing, but it's cuter and it's more positive. That being said, I think it's great because that it benefits the customer. At the end of the day, it benefits the customer. And it allows a lot more capabilities to be brought and specifically around operational efficiency.
Yeah.
The previous macros that everybody has in their Excel spreadsheet can be, repurposed into something else, which is, a new technology. So I think that's a positive from that perspective. But again, in a regulated environment, we need to have boundaries. And I usually I use a reference as, Jurassic Park. When you go in, you don't know how you can get out. That's the same thing with environment that needs to be built.
Yeah.
So you can play in those environments as much as you like, but you cannot get out the data, which is
A challenge, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other insight, Malik?
Well, definitely we got excited by Gen AI when it came out. As the CEO, you're like, you want magic to happen all the time. I've done a test with somebody. It was magical. And Sir was like, okay, wow, we'll be saving 99% of our cost. And then my CTO said, no, look at me. But then he made 1,000 tests, and it was really not that effective. So we need to...
Height of inflated expectations.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So then I said, okay, this is why I'm not the CTO. And we've been looking at a number of proof of concept and working more carefully on how can we put these safeguards and working with our cloud providers so it's secure and doing these proof of concept. But we do have few things that will be coming out soon.
Great. So we're going to get into Q&A. So there should be a mic somewhere right there. So does anybody have a question? If so, raise your hand and we'll pass the mic so you have questions for our panelists. Yes, right there.
Good morning. This may be a little bit more for you usually, but I'd be keen to get everyone else's perspective as well. Going back to the operational excellence aspect, what do you see today as some of your main challenges to get to operational excellence, and what do you do about it?
So thank you, Patrick, for the question. There's many challenges and many opportunities. So in a bank, there's still a lot of manual processes, a lot of paper, a lot of manual intervention between different tasks. So definitely, these are areas that we're looking into. I would say our strategy is a little different than some other companies might have done, where they looked at it more from an automation point of view. I'm looking at it from a simplification point of view. So there's a lot of things that we are doing that we should not be doing. There's a lot of product that needs to be simplified, a lot of product offering and customer offering that we need to question. That complexity drives these operational processes that are quite cumbersome and heavy in people and mistakes and so on that comes with it. So we've done a great inventory of all of those, identified what are the different levers that we need to pull, what are the different discussions we need to have with the different business unit to question why are we doing this, looking at it from a full integrated TCO. Yeah, it might be, for your bottom line, your P&L, it's good, but when you look at the total cost of it, we're not making any money out of this. So looking at this holistically, in a nutshell, that's the approach that we're taking.
Christine, do you want to?
I would say that, in a similar way, the answer is not always automation. Sometimes the answer is process reengineering, or maybe there's an org structure, element, which is like inhibiting, velocity or introducing, unnecessary duplication or process complexity. But it is at that intersection for us, that it's at the intersection of process engineering, automation, and intelligent decisioning. And so, we look at that holistically. If we are dealing with a system that we did not create, you look at things like RPA and so forth, like surface level kind of technologies as a source to streamline. But if it is, technologies that systems you did create, and processes that you have kind of full control over, you can do it's better to do, I believe, like deep in the core changes to enable that, like straight through processing. And I would also say it's like what is perfect for your business at one point in time is not going to be the same solution at another point in time, because something that, like a small issue or a small inefficiency that shows up is acceptable if it's a rare occurrence, but then you scale to a different size, and all of a sudden that thing becomes an area that warrants, the necessary process engineering and technology investments. So it's a moving target, and keeping it kind of fit for purpose is something that really has to stay, be vigilant about. Otherwise, the next thing you know, your costs have skyrocketed.
I was looking for a chance to plug that news, and I think it was the perfect question. So we're at the size of 320 employees. We're looking to continue to grow and capture market share. And you don't know what you don't know. See, in general, you don't know what you don't know. At what stage are we today, and at which stage are we going tomorrow? So for me, talent is key. And we just made I think it's out, a big announcement today where we just hired Max Wagner, that was the head of sales and operation at Rocket Mortgage for the last 18 years. So he grew the company from 1,000 employees to 40,000 employees. So when you look at how do you get operational excellence, I'm looking for inspiration where the best in the world are, and we just made a big hire today that we announced.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's a great hire.
I'm quite happy about that.
You look happy, that's for sure. So
I'm always happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So any other questions in the room? Yes.
Hello. I have a question for Christine and Julie. I'm the founder of portfolio management fintech. We're a third-party app of Questrade. It's called Feather Finance, and we also just integrated the data feed of NBIN, so it's a bit relevant for you too. Essentially, I'm wondering, despite all the progress we've done, we're still a relatively early stage startup, and sometimes it's not easy for us to get to talk to the right people in big organizations like yours, and also to get people that are not necessarily used to working with startups to consider what we're offering in a positive way, that we're trying to help the ecosystem, and we're trying to find win-wins. So any advice that you have for startups like myself would be appreciated.
Yeah, it is. Listen, it's challenging for us to talk to each other. So it's just with everything that's going on in our organization, and I think we're all going through our own adaptation to all of it. I know I am. So I definitely sympathize with reaching the right people. But I think sometimes it just really comes down to timing, right? Which I know is difficult but for us, I don't think there's any challenge in terms of talking with startups because, there's many long tenured people like myself who've been there, like we were the startup. And so, we haven't forgotten what that feels like and what that looks like. But definitely kind of, it is a challenge reaching the right people. I wish I had a straightforward, easy answer to that question. I mean, I think unlike national, we haven't operationalized how we kind of engage in partnerships. It's mostly, we try to create some ecosystems, and then, as you say, you can kind of plug in and leverage. But we haven't formalized it. We've been very, I would say, targeted in terms of which capabilities we're looking for and kind of how we're looking to augment ourselves. And so we tend to, go after what we feel we need, as opposed to kind of engaging in really broad explorations.
I would say for national, you're in luck. NBIN is our independent network, very entrepreneurial in the way that they do business. I would suggest you go through our AnyVenture team that have facilitated those conversations in the past, like with Digit, Clear Estate, which are all fintechs that are being integrated and used at NBIN. James is sitting right there in the front. Raise your hand. And he's that guy for all NBIN.
See, why don't I have a guy?
Well, you can talk to James.
I need a guy.
Great. So we have time for one last question. So if we have somebody in the audience that has a question before we... No? All right. So I'd like to thank you guys. You guys were awesome, very generous with your comments and insights. And I wish everybody a great day at the FinTech Forum. Thank you.